Jæja, góðan daginn öllsumul og velkomin að þennan veffund OK og Optoma. Kristi heiti ég og ég vörustjóri hérna í OK og það sem ég ber helst ábyrgð á eru þá skjátengdar lausnir og allt sem snýr að fundarherbyggjum. Vona allir heyri í mér svona til að byrja með. En ef ekki þá verður það bara svo að vera. Heyrðu, hér fyrir voru vorum við með veffund þar sem við fengum sérfræðinga frá Optoma til að fara svona yfir með okkur það lausnaframboð sem að Optoma er með í sínu vöruframboði. Í dag er ætlunin kannski að taka svona framhald af þeim fundi og þá fara aðeins betur á dýptina hvað þetta varðar. Einblína kannski þá á þær gagnvirku skjálausnir sem í boði eru og skoða þá aðalega hvernig slíka lausnir geta nýst í nútíma skólastarfi og hvernig mögulega má móta framtíð skólastarfs með þessari tækni. Til þess að fara yfir þetta með okkur, þá höfum við fengið 2 sérfræðinga frá Optoma með okkur í lið, þá Thomas og Chris, og þeir munu, má segja, leiða okkur í allan sannleikann hvernig þessar skjálausnir geta nýst þá við kennslu í dag. Við fögnum að sjálfsögðu öllum spurningum, þannig að endilega setjið þær fram bara í þá tjatti og ef það geta verið á ensku þá er það bara fínt og þá pikka þeir félagar Thomas og Chris þeirra upp jafn óðum og svara. Annars fyrir almenna fyrirspurnir, eftir fund jável, að þá megið þið endilega nota bara netfangið sala@ok til þess að spurja hvort sem það er tengt eitthvað eiginleikum, tækjana, verðfyrirspurnir eða hvað sem ykkur dettur í hug. Áður en ég gef Thomas orðið þá bendi ég á þessi fundur er tekin upp og upptakan verður send síðar í dag til þeirra sem hafa skráð sig og endilega þá deilið upptökunni áfram til vinnufélaga sem að mögulega er að missa af þessu hér í dag með okkur. En nóg frá mér í bili, Thomas, feel free to start your presentation.
Hi, welcome everybody. Thomas Christiansen from Sweden, and my colleague Alexander Svan is here with me, our technical responsible for the Nordic Optoma group. We welcome you all to the second session that we have as a follow-up from the first webinar we did earlier this year. We have also, as I understood, Kristin said, Chris with us that will do the presentation on the displays from the UK, and we also have Gordon with us managing and monitoring the event. This session will be as a follow-up to the first event, where we will discuss more of how you can use the interactive displays in the school and give you some inspiration on what kind of features and what kind of functions that you can have to work with your students, and how to use the display in a good way in the classroom. Going forward from this, our future plan, to be confirmed when, is also to have a session locally on Iceland, where we will have products live, where we will come to you and also offer to do more hands-on trainings and demos. But that will be further announced when that will happen. I think I understood what Kristin said as well regarding questions. You can write questions in the chat, and we will try to reply to that during the session, or you can take the questions after, when we will have a Q&A after the presentation is done by Chris. Yeah, with that said, I'll hand over to Chris for the presentation.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Thomas, for that brief introduction there. So good morning, everybody. My name's Chris, product manager for the interactive flat panel displays here. I'm situated over at the UK office, as Thomas mentioned. So again, just alluding to what Thomas brought up there about the Q&A questions, please, along throughout the presentation, if you do have any specific questions, feel free to just post them in the chat. We have one of our colleagues in the room with us today, Matthew Richards, and there will be a point halfway through and at the end of the presentation where Matt will be monitoring those questions in the chat. So please do post anything in there that you wish to. So what we wanted to talk to you about today is our 53 series interactive flat panel display. So though I'm aware now that there may be some of you that may have seen the original presentation. So apologies if I cover anything in the first instance that you may have already seen, but I promise you there's a bit more of a deeper dive around how you can get the best out of the product and some of the key features that will enhance the teaching experience with the students. So as I mentioned, 53 series. So this is available in 65, 75 and 86 inches. On here we have two 18-watt built-in speakers as well as two 8-watt rear subwoofers. So what that means is there's more chance to, it's more possible to fill up a small to medium room without the need of additional AV equipment. It's good sound quality that's coming through there. There is also on this particular range as well, I don't think you can pick that up on the camera, there's lots of perforated holes here. So there's a built-in 8-array microphone already built into the screen as well. So you've got microphone and for speakers, and we'll cover off a little bit more about where that's really beneficial. Now, one of the key factors that we wanted to talk about with this screen, and again, those of you that would have been on the first session will recall. So this is what we refer to as Google EDLA certified. So EDLA is basically something that Google pieced together for Enterprise Device Licensing Agreement. And what that essentially means is that we have already pre-installed on the screens and we have instant access to any of the GMS services, so Google mobile services. So that's things such as the Play Store, we've got the Chrome browser on there as well, we've got basically anything, anything that was developed under Google. What that means in terms of the Play Store as well, when we talk about applications, is as long as you log in with a Google account, you then have full access to Google Play Store's full library of applications. So you're no longer limited on only being able to install certain applications. Another benefit of that is that just like on an Android mobile phone using the Google Play Store, the screen is continuously looking for the updates of those applications. It will update those, so there's less chance of running into like compatibility issues and that sort of thing. So just to cover off a couple of key points that I wanted to cover today as well around that before we take a deeper dive into some of the more interesting stuff on the whiteboard. So what we've added into this series as well, we have the option of an additional sensor box. So that's this piece down here. This is called the WL10C sensor box, and it has multiple purposes. One of the key purposes, though, I'll show you today. So each sensor box will come with one NFC card. Now, you can purchase additional ones for in your school. Obviously, appreciate there's multiple teachers using the same screen. So that's where this comes into play. They're very, very cheap. You can pick them up online for a big bulk pack. But essentially, this gets programmed to an account. So what I can do is if I just hover that over the front, I hear an audible ding, I can see it's logging me in. And there you go. That's my own personal profile. Okay, so it's customized to me. So any applications I store on my home screen here will appear there. And you can see obviously I can customize the background, wallpaper, anything like that, any files and etc. So diving straight into what we refer to as OSS, which is our Optoma Solution Suite. So Optoma Solution Suite is these three icons that you'll see across the bottom in this sort of bluey green color here. So we have whiteboard, we have something called display share, and then we have our file manager. So today I wanted to spend the majority of the time talking to you about whiteboard and then that Google integration piece as well and how that will benefit you and the students as well. So first is first. Again, if you weren't on the first call, we have something we refer to as the quick launch pen. So you can see here I've got a pen that's in a dock on the side. The screen is programmed that if I simply lift the pen, it launches the whiteboard application for me. Okay, so it alleviates the need for you to have to scurry around to try and find the right application and to bring all of that together. So if I go ahead and start a new session here, So first things first, this here we refer to as our floating toolbar. So you can see I can move that around freely. But for example, if that's up in the top corner, let's say this is on one of the 86 inches and it, you know, perhaps a child thought they were being funny and they thought, I'll move it up the way because then the teacher won't be able to get it. I can simply single finger press and hold. Ooh, I can press and is that not calling? I can single press. Okay, interesting. Okay, that should be. Apologies, there's a bit of a technical thing there. This essentially with the floating toolbar, you've got like a call function, so you can actually press and call it, and it will automatically snap into wherever that finger is. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that one. So going through the toolbar, first of all, and some of the key features on there. So with our pen, now we've got it's a thin tip and a thick tip pen that comes with it. You get 2 pens with each screen as well. So first of all, you can see I can change obviously the thickness. I've got like a slider bar. So simple drawing. So I've got that on quite thick there. Simple drawing. I've got full palette there. I can customize that palette as well. So I've got some preset themes if I wanted. I can also change the color to something quirky and whichever I wanted to use. The way that the pen works, so single, you can see it's coming out in black. If I flip that around now use the thick tip, if I flick that, oh, sorry, that's not good program. I can program that tip to basically know that the surface size of that will be any one of the highlighter colors. So it will actually act as a highlighter. So if I go thin tip, that gives me the pen. If I flip it, there we go. So it now knows it's been programmed that it can highlight over the top of the original annotation. Within there as well, so we also have, so there's obviously an eraser, a simple eraser I can do with a pen, but more easily, more common, I can just wipe the screen with my palm. There is a setting in within the whiteboard as well called palm eraser, palm rejection. So what that allows is that when you're writing, it's not picking up your palm there. It registers that the pen's touching. So that's something that you can enable. We also have preset shapes and tools within there as well. So I've got various different 2D shapes I can use. If I go into, let's take that blue, so I can get various shapes. We also have 3D shapes in there as well. So if I wanted to add something like that, there's quite a few bits in there. The tools for the mathematics, these are the ones that I quite like these because we've got up here under rulers. This is continuously growing with constantly adding new tool sets to it. For example, the ruler, this is a really good one. And I tend to show this to people a lot of times, okay, because for me, this really benefits in the sense of drawing that perfectly straight line. So this is my honest attempt of a straight line. Okay, I naturally have very shaky hands. So that's that. Where the ruler comes into play, you can see that automatically snaps the lines to it. So you can see it's perfectly straight. It's a really, really useful tool. We can also, just got to select that. We can also change the sizing. You can move the angle and everything, and you'll see we get a little visual radius come up on the ruler telling us what angle that's at as well. I'll clear that. Some of the other things we've added into this recently as well. So the text tool as well. So it brings me up a keyboard so I can write and get an actual font on the screen. Okay, once I've got that, I can just select it to customize the format as well. So change the color, change the sizing, make it bold, italic, all that sort of thing as well. Okay, if I move on to the next one, sticky notes. Sticky notes are really, really useful. So there's a couple of different functions to this. So first of all, again, I can drop in formatted text inside the sticky note, or what I can also do, you see when I've selected that, it brings me up this whole new toolbar of options to use. So if I select the pen here, I can actually write inside, and you'll see, if I draw a line here, you see that line doesn't go on. I can't draw on that because this toolbar is something separate to the sticky note toolbar. So when I go back into there, you can see I've got the pen. There we go. There's also various other things that I can log in with there. Another thing to show you on the sticky notes would be, so on here, so this is a good one. So if I was writing, let's do, I'll just put the word how for now. Let's say I wanted to do like a little question, pop-up questions for my class. I can actually set a timer on there as well. So there's a timing clock. So if I change that to, we'll say 2 seconds for the benefit of this, you can see I get a little visual, and then it rings out an audio sound for that as well. So it tells the class time's up, pens down, etc. You can customize these as well. So there's different colors if you want to use different colors. When you embed them, that was a single. There's also the option to embed multiple. So if I tap it, it will automatically place 5 new sticky notes in there that I can interact with. If we're doing a collaboration as well, so I'm currently signed into the board, as you saw, with my NFC card. If I have students that are working remotely, I can actually have them join this whiteboard session live. They don't need to be on the same network or anything. Again, it can be remote. You know, we're now at an age where remote working, remote learning is becoming, or it has become, the new norm essentially. So this sort of stuff really comes into play. So for example, if I wanted to make sure that people were engaging and interacting with my lesson content, I can have them throw me a thumbs up, all that sort of stuff, smileys, etc. So you can see that comes up down the bottom, and I can still get that interaction. Just enlarge that so you can see that. Yeah, perfect. So that's sticky notes. We also have so a built-in browser. This one as well. This was real sort of game changer for us a couple of years ago when we first launched this feature within Whiteboard. So we refer to it as the embedded browser. So what this means is that no longer do you have to minimize the Whiteboard software, open up a browser, go and find your image or content, save it to the device, reopen, and then insert it. So you see I'm still actually within the Whiteboard here, but I could say, right, today I want a picture of a dog. I can search, it's going to go off and, let's get over this, it's going to go off and look at Google. I'll just go images. I'm going to say, right, I really like this guy here. If I press and hold, I get a little thumbnail, and I can just drag and drop it in, and then that appears now in my Whiteboard. So then from there, I can choose to enlarge that or do whatever I need to there. And then over the top of that, I can annotate, etc., and do anything I want over the top of that image. That also works as well for YouTube videos as well. You can drop a YouTube link and it will actually paste it as a floating window within the Whiteboard session as well. And again, if you have students on the lesson remotely from home, they can also see that in real time as well. So they'll be able to follow along with the class. So there's no worry about them missing out on anything. So that's the browser there. Oh, one other thing just to note as well, actually. So on the browser, if I open up here, so at the top you'll see it's got this other option. So I have to enable that, and that actually gives me this toolbar here. So now that's an annotation toolbar. So now I can select, should be able to. Okay, that might have gone behind on that one. Yeah, okay, that might have gone behind. Move that one out. Yeah, it gives you the annotation browser. Within the floating toolbar as well, we've got like there's an option that's grayed out on here, but for document camera. So if you wanted to be showing any particular documents on the screen, you can do that. Again, annotate over the top of it. Over the top of it if need be. Templates. I won't go through every single template because there is probably about 200 on here at the moment. But we've gone through, we've separated everything out per category as well. So there's some preset maths templates, biology, science, geography. There's plenty there to give at least some of a starting point. So you can see, for example, there, like a basic math one on some ice creams, etc. And then the idea being that you as a teacher could come in and, you know, you're annotating over the top of it, sort of thing. You can invite students up to come along and participate with that as well. I'll clear that one off anyway. I'll make that back to normal. So another point that I wanted to show within the whole Google integration piece. So obviously we logged in with the NFC card there. So the Optoma whiteboard actually has Google Classroom integration as well. And what I mean by that is that Google Classroom, if you're familiar, it's a great platform where you can actually store multiple files, presentations are turned into Google Slides, all that sort of thing. So if I go on this top right icon, you'll see it's prompted here. It says add a class from Google Classroom. Because I've signed into the screen, it already knows that I'm logged in. So I've got Optoma PM1 here, and it says select your class. So me personally, I have these two classes actually set up within my Google account. So if I go education, for example, go into that, I can go hit the sync button. What that's going to do, that's going to pull any work that I've got in there. So imagine, for example, I'm a teacher on a Sunday evening. I'm thinking, oh gosh, tomorrow I've got to do science at 9 a.m. I'm at home on my sofa with my laptop. I can comfortably create my lesson content from the comfort of my home. I can close that laptop. I can go to the school the next morning without the laptop. And as long as I have an Optoma IFP, I can log in straight here. I can press there. You can see now, after we've hit sync, it's pulling all of the work. So this is everything that currently resides within my Google account there. So for example, if I go to, let's say human body, in body blank, I go to that, what it will do here, it's going to give me a second layer of security first time that I use it. So you can see it brings up Google's own login. So it's prompted me to log in. So just for the sake of showing, I will very quickly log us in. PM1. And essentially, what this is going to do so essentially what we're going to do here, so there you go. So you can see now it's imported in a PDF format the work that I've pre-saved or pre-created, whichever it is. Now with that, if I use the selector tool, I have to select that PDF. Now you can see I've got that option box come up at the top again. So if I just hit the enable toggle switch, now that gives me the ability to annotate on the file itself. Apologies for my very sloppy handwriting. But yeah, and I can do that from there. So another thing that I always highlight with people as well, I'll just put some things on here. So let's say, for example, this is some amazing work myself and my class have been doing. One benefit that I have is down here, I can hit the share button and I can either share by QR code. So a QR code will pop up. My students can just take a picture of it on their smartphones. They can then download exactly what we've worked on here, or I can email a copy of it out to them as well. So very, very useful in terms of that. The icon at the top left. So again, this is regarding the session. So this is what we refer to as a collaborative whiteboarding session. So what I mentioned earlier about students being remote, being able to actually dial in and follow along, is that any other device, they could essentially tap in the session code. I will get a prompt on the screen. For example, if Thomas was to do it, I could get it would come up and say, Thomas Christiansen has joined the session. At that point, he is restricted to viewer only. So essentially, he can only see what I'm annotating on the screen. He wouldn't be able to take control, do anything back. If I trust him, then I can, of course, change his rights to what we call editor mode. So then with that, we can both actually be annotating backwards and forth together in real time as well. In terms of numbers, so you can have essentially up to about 40 people joined on at one point. In terms of annotating at one time, I would say no more than 20, but that is 20 people actively writing on the screen at the exact same time, which is probably a very rare thing anyway. And then, of course, from there, I can manage people as well. I can restart the session just by refreshing that code. It would just kick everybody out. What will also come with that actually as well. So let's say, for example, I've had my students on this. To get to here, for them to join, they would have had to go through the Optoma Whiteboard website, which essentially means they have to have they can join as a guest, but they would essentially have to have login details as well. So if they've joined with login, next time they log in on the web portal side, they will actually see their previous sessions and they can access those. So anybody that's been on this session here will always have access to it, unless me as the host, I remove that person. So again, for referencing, for follow-up work, it's very, very useful there. So within Whiteboard 2, yeah, we've spoken a bit about the Google piece. We've spoken about some of the key features there. One other thing just to call out as well, because I've just spotted it there and I haven't covered. So obviously I can zoom in and out of the screen. If I go up to here, though, I've got something called like a freeform window. So what that means is that I can create new space just by pinching the screen. So you see I pinch it in together, it shrinks down. I go out, it gets bigger. So you can see that there changing on the screen. So essentially what that means is this is our infinity canvas, meaning that if I run out of room, I can just shrink it, move it across, carry on what I was doing. So, you know, we often use that here in our office when we're brainstorming for different things and new products, etc. It's a very, very useful feature to have. So I will go over the next part of OSS in a moment, but it's probably worth just touching on something else in there as well. So all of our screens also come with, you see I've just accessed that from the side toolbar menu. We have something here, which is the screen record button. So essentially, this will be recording every single click that I make on the screen. Okay, so, and then at the end of it, once I hit stop, it will save to the device itself as well. So again, very, very useful if I wanted to capture what myself and my class have been going over that day. And I can then send that out via email directly from the screen as well. Just type in the class email account, again, which is where the Google piece comes in. If you have your students are actually on the setup as Google Mails, then great, you've got everything you need in one place there. Although you can send through a different portal anyway. But yeah, so you could share that lesson content with them afterwards so that everybody's on the same page, has the same reference to go back for homework and things like that as well. There are some other benefits within there. I'm not going to go too deep in these. Some of them are education-based. Some of them are a bit more for use in the corporate boardroom. But of course, you know, any further information we can follow up with you at a later point. But the next point that I wanted to just raise on here was this next part of OSS. So this is what we refer to as display share. So display share is essentially a way of multiple devices being able to connect and cast their screens up to this screen. Okay, so display share, the external device. So let's say it's a tablet, iPad, or a laptop, or even a mobile phone, must be on the same network as this screen is. So again, within the classroom, your students would have to have that application installed on that device. Now, with this, you can share up to 4 screens actually casting at one time, and then you can have 20 waiting in the lobby as well. There is a moderator mode as well. So from the teacher's standpoint, you would join it from your laptop, and you can then actually manage and see who comes in, and you can control who's allowed to cast and who is not. So if you do have a particular student, maybe they're trying to disrupt your lesson, you can shut that down straight away. So that level of security is there. Works on Android. We have iOS versions as well, as you see there as well. So essentially you get, when you look on the search list, you get this ID of the screen, so WPS, and then the big 4 digits, it will ask you for a join code. On that external device, you will be able to mirror that device. You can share documents from that device, so actual PDFs, JPEGs, pictures, videos, that sort of thing. Or you can use a camera as well. So, for example, on a smartphone, you've got a camera. If you wanted to, they can use that on there. Another way around this as well, you may have seen on my home screen here, I have something called Miracast. So you may or may not be aware. So it's a Windows functionality, essentially. You hold down the Windows key on your keypad, press P or K, Windows K, Windows P, and that will basically open up a list of screens that you can wirelessly cast to. The benefit of doing Miracast is that Miracast doesn't have to be on the same network because it's a peer-to-peer connection. So it will actually shut off that Wi-Fi connection whilst it connects, but then it just keeps everything private within there. But that is a way around that if, for example, you weren't able to have display share and so for whatever reason on those devices. So that's sort of casting. Coming to the third bit here, actually, so of the OSS. So this is our file manager. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It's pretty obvious what it is, but just talk about some of the key points of this. So Optoma File Manager, we have our internal storage. So it will actually come preloaded with all of these folders, but we can create our own new folders if we wanted to as well. So I could just easily test. There we go. And it's popped me in a new one down the bottom there. So it's a place for storing on the device any files, media files especially as well. Your whiteboard sessions can get saved here as well. But what else we can do, this is the internal storage, and you can see on the 5 series we have 64 gig, which is quite a substantial amount. We also have cloud storage, so you can see I'm actually logged in there. That's again from when I tapped in. So on here I can add one of 3 different accounts if I wanted to. So I have a Dropbox account, I have the Google OneDrive, and I also have Microsoft OneDrive as well. And these will accept personal and business accounts as well. So once I've paired with that, it basically then gives me access in. So you can see this is essentially what I just showed you. So in fact, yeah, there's that the blank body piece. So this is every single file and folder that is stored within my Google account. So we've pulled that all in, linked it in with the IFP itself. Okay, so you've got quick access into there. And again, you can rename things, you can copy and paste files around, move them around, all that sort of stuff. You can even lock certain files off as well if you wanted to. So I think that may have taken us about to the halfway point, I believe. So I'm just going to pause there for a moment and just ask my colleague Matt, is there any questions in the chat so far?
Yeah, we've had 2 questions so far, Chris.
Okay.
One, Gordon has already answered, and it was around using different backgrounds for different uses and maths lessons, etc. Okay. So Gordon's answered that, and then you answered it a bit later by going through the templates. We had a second question, and that question was, does the card scanner work with standard HID iClass cards?
So the standard of it is ISO, I think it's 14,001, I think is the exact standard. It's a pretty industry standard used card to my knowledge, or at least particularly when we talk about all of the IFPs that are available on the market. We can share with you the exact specific spec for that. Just further adding to that as well, at the moment, the login there is only available through the NFC. We have been investigating the potential of moving that across to a mobile phone as well, and obviously, today's mobile phones, iPhones, they'll have NFC readers built into them. So that is something we are looking at for the future as well. But yeah, at the moment, those cards, I'm pretty sure it's ISO 14001. But yeah, Matt, perhaps we can mark that as a follow-up, and I can get that information confirmed to Thomas, who can share that out with the rest of you after the call. Absolutely. So that's a great question. Thank you for that. Was there anything else on there?
So I had another question come offline, and it was about the Google EDLA. When you go in, is there a section yet that shows apps that are specifically made for IFP? And can you install any of the apps if the app is maybe made for a phone? You can still install it, but it'll be in portrait mode. So
yeah, well, you pretty much answered that question there, Matt. Because so to answer the first part, so Google has only recently just, what's the best word to say, not accepted, but I suppose acknowledged interactive flat panel displays as a device compatible with their platforms, which is why we have Google ELA is now in place. With that, we, with regards to the applications, anything that's on Google Play Store, yes, absolutely, you can install to the screen. Will it work? Will it look absolutely perfect? No, not every time. To be honest, I think the only apps that I've noticed, again, is something that you just mentioned there, Matt, was anything that's designed for a phone. So there was a game that we tried on here previously, and obviously it's meant in portrait mode. So it actually just came up on the screen, just sort of like a portrait rectangle from top to bottom. So it still cuts off the sides for just black. Whereas you might expect it, oh, you know, I wanted it to fill the entire screen. That's not always the case. I think that is more things like the games there, though. So really, we are talking about any other sort of educational applications should in theory. Okay. Any more questions, or are we ready to move on?
I think we've just had one in the chat.
Okay.
What about Microsoft Office users? Are the possibilities a lot fewer?
So that's a really good question as well. So Microsoft Office, so you can tie that in as well. So again, you can download, obviously from Play Store, you could get hold of Microsoft Office. Something I don't think I touched on as well was the use of OPS units, which actually we'll come to in a moment. But yeah, the Microsoft Office, absolutely, you can tie those in. In terms of the limitation, I think this is where this question is coming from. So when we talk about the whiteboard there with the Google Classroom integration, absolutely. At the moment, it's only Google Classroom that it has that tie with. So having the full access to your files within Whiteboard, no. However, within File Manager, yes. Once you've logged in with your Microsoft account there, you will have that in your cloud account. So you can still access it from there. It just essentially means you can access files that you have, but you will have to sort of go around a slightly different way to get to them. It's maybe like one additional step. But yeah, really good question. Thank you for that. Anything else? Or
well, that's it for the questions so far.
Okay, thank you, Matt, and thanks for the questions. It's great. Please continue putting them in there, as I mentioned earlier. Once we get to the end, we'll have another allocated slot for some questions there. So moving on to the next bit. So what I wanted to just cover off here was just what else is available with these as well. So with all of our screens, I mentioned at the start there, we have the WL10C sensor box for the NFC reader. That is an optional accessory. The dongle as well, so you can't see it there, but just under here, I've got plugged in a USB Wi-Fi dongle. Of course, we can connect these up with a hardwired Ethernet cable as well, if you want that sort of more stable connection, or perhaps that's just the way it's routed in the school. There's some various conferencing solutions there as well. Got the wireless camera, it's just a standard USB web camera, basically. And then underneath that, you'll see the BM21 conference speakers. That's a Bluetooth speaker. It can be hardwired with a single USB-C, or it can be wireless up to, I think the sound reach was 8 meters on that one. And then there's various different mounting solutions as well. So we do fixed wall mounts, standard trolleys, so you can move the screens around between classrooms. Or then with one of our partners, a company called Vogels, we can also offer motorized solutions as well. So their rise stand range there is motorized. So with a remote control, you can lift the screen up and down. And the white, where it says there, Vogels Rise Plus whiteboards, that's referring to static whiteboards that will sort of hang on the side as doors. So when the screen's not being used, you can close those over, you can write on them, you can open them up, you can write on the inside as well if you wanted to. They fully customize those. So if that's something that was of interest. Going back to that point I mentioned just a moment ago, so at the top there you'll see OPS. So an OPS is it's basically like a very small form factor PC. So obviously our system here is running on Android, just like a mobile phone. With Android, you are very limited in terms of the power the capacity, storage, that sort of thing. And OPS is used really for running Windows programs. So there's a slot on the side. You basically remove a plate here next to all of your inputs and outputs, and then you simply plug this OPS in. So we do offer OPS units as an optional extra, but as you'll see on the screen at the moment, the operating system itself isn't included in that. That would be down to the purchaser to add that. So moving on. So Mosebook. So I wanted to talk a little bit, very, very briefly around Mosebook, because Mosebook is really, really important for us. And I think not enough people know its true benefit and what it can really, really do for the classroom. So Mosebook are a partner of ours, and they are based out of Hungary. So essentially, they are a little bit of back history. They started out as a paperback publisher for education within Hungary, and obviously over the years, when everything's become digital, they transferred all of that into digital textbooks. So what we have here, any 5 series or even our 3 series interactive flat panel, is actually, with each one purchased, you get a 1-year license for free included as well. And you can see that each license grants access to one device and permits unlimited usage as well. So you can log in at different areas. So what's actually included in there? So it is a full library of 3D scenes. You've got its own whiteboard. It comes with all of its own tools. There's different games that are pre-made for you. You can see there, in fact, over 1,000 3D animated scenes. These animated scenes, they really are impressive. There's one, I think it was in Rome, that I've seen, and it really immerses the kids into, feeling like they're actually there walking the streets of Rome all those many years ago. Go to the next slide, thank you. So Mosa Tools application. So we can see that Mosebook includes over 100 interactive applications and games, which serve as visual aids and assist in skill development and lets students perform experiments. So that's on the left there, the image on the left, you'll see that's a great example of one of the 3D scenes there. So there's various different possibilities. I won't run through the full list here. We can share this with you after, of course. But some of the key takeaways, Mosebook is available in several different languages as well. Essentially, you can have preloaded textbooks. You can create your own textbooks and work, your own interactive books, things like that, the 3D figures, animation, there's audio in there. It's just a full array. To be honest, I can't do it justice enough. I think what we would essentially invite you to do is, if anybody is interested on a deeper dive into Mosebook, please do reach out to Thomas and his team there. We can certainly facilitate that we could have somebody from Mosebook actually come on and do a dedicated webinar, which I believe they run on a weekly or bi-weekly basis as it goes. Anyway, they will essentially show you how cool that software really is. And as I say, it's free software at the moment for 1-year license with every single screen that is purchased. So yeah, it's well worth taking up. I think that actually already brings us to the end there. I think we're a little bit ahead of time, which is okay. Is there any further questions in the chat then, Matt?
There's nothing in the chat, so I don't know if anybody wants to ask any questions.
Yeah, is there anything else anybody wants to raise?
Yvonne.
There was one question about the Microsoft Office use. If the censor box works with MS Office accounts or just with Google accounts?
Well, not quite. At the moment, the way that the censor box is working is actually with this piece that you see here. Maybe you can see. This widget that we see here, this is actually an Optoma widget. So it's an Optoma account manager. So when I'm signing in with NFC, I'm actually signing in directly to the Optoma server, basically, not actually directly with Google. but the Google integration piece is tied in through within the whiteboard. What you're referring to is part of the single sign-on process. So again, it is something that is on the roadmap to come, but at the moment it would only be directly with the Google piece that you have access. Otherwise, you're going to have access here when you go into your cloud storage for sure. In fact, that's probably because I'm up there. Yeah, so when you're in here, so like Microsoft OneDrive, for example. So you will be able to log in through there. It will store, and you'll see all of your files, just like we did on here. You will see all of your files within the file manager piece, but there's no integration for the Microsoft side of it within Whiteboard. Hope that makes sense. Any other questions? Okay, no problem, you're welcome. Anything else?
Nothing else in the chat.
Nothing else? No? Okay. I mean, if there's any follow-up questions, please do, reach out to Thomas and the team there, Thomas and Alex. I'm more than willing to take on any questions, any follow-ups that you feel would be beneficial. As I said, the Mosaic piece, it really, really is a game changer when you really see how much they can do with it. And as I mentioned, they do run regular webinars themselves, so it may well be worth. Thomas, perhaps you and I can follow up on this later, that we can see if we can get something arranged officially with Mosaic, because I think the guys would really, it's better. I can't do it enough justice. It's better. They would understand it much better and see all the really cool features that they put in there.
Yeah, I mean, if the request comes in and somebody wants to look into it, we're more than willing to do so. I also think that for as I mentioned, our upcoming live event, maybe we can absolutely have a Mosa book on one of the displays, so it can be tested and demoed live also from our capacity, I would say, because demoing Mosa book, it's very you can go very deep on it, but we can show, of course, the basics and see how it looks and how it feels. But yes, I would of course want to thank Chris, Gordon, and Matthew for taking time and helping us out with this demo from UK. And yeah, we've been covering, of course, a lot during our interactive displays here, just so everybody also knows that Optoma, we are a one-stop shop when it comes to your classrooms and your schools, basically. We can help you with interactive flat panels. We can help you with standard flat panels, projectors, LED screens. We also have visualizers. So everything you can be in need of, we can help you with. And most of these products can be managed through the same kind of software that we call Optoma Management Suite. But this is also something we would like to cover more hands-on when we come to visit, of course. So yeah, that's everything from me and Alexander, Chris, Gordon, and Matthew, and then I'll hand it back to Kristen again. Your mic is off.
Okay, thank you guys very much, all of you, Thomas, Chris, and Alexander. It's very good and impressive. Bara í blálokin, ég ætla bara að minnast á að við erum sem sagt með sýningarskjá hérna í Skútuvoginum, þannig að ef einhver hefur áhuga á að koma í heimsókn og kíkja á það hjá okkur, þá og svona fá svona aðeins svona tilfinningu fyrir tækinu, þá getum við tekið á móti viðskiptavinum og sýnt kannski betur skjáinn og eiginleikana hérna hjá okkur. Þannig að endilega bara hafið samband, getið hringt eða sent á salat ok. Og hérna við skipuleggjum slíkan fund. Síðan eins og Thomas bent á að þá er fyrirhugað að fá þá hingað til lands, það ekki alveg ákveða dagsetninguna og þá getum við líka mætt með þá sérfræðingana bara til annarkvort hérna í okkur, haldið fundi eða mætt til viðskiptavina og hérna farið betur yfir málin. Annars ekki mikið meira frá mér, bara ítreka, endilega senda fyrirspurnir, hvort sem það tengt eiginleikum, verðum eða eitthvað annað á sal.ok og við hérna sjáum til þess að því verið svarað öllu saman hratt og örugglega. Once again, Thomas, Chris, Alexander, thank you very much. Takk fyrir í dag og Góðan dag.
Tack så mycket.
Thank you.
Yeah.